Let's look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions have been relatively inactive over the first couple days of open market free agency, with them focusing primarily on in-house signings and allowing the big name guys like Marcus Williams and Myles Jack to go claimed by other teams for massive contracts. And although the Lions haven't made a big splashy player signing in the free agent market yet, that doesn't mean that they don't have players that they're targeting, and that doesn't mean that there's not a significant amount of young and cheap talent left for the Detroit Lions to scoop up after the remainder of the 31 NFL teams are done paying the big money to the big names. So today we are going to be going over our wish list. Today we are going to be going over a wish list of free agents, guys that are young, talented, have something to prove, and will be relatively cheap in comparison to the remainder of the free agents and the free agents that have been signed away already. And today we're going to focus on positions. Of course, we're going to go over safety, linebacker, and the tight end position, the three biggest positions of need, in my opinion, to address in the free agency market, and go over some of the best fits and the best players to fit in those roles. So with that being said, and without any further ado, let's get on to the free agency wish list. Now, starting off with the linebacker position, I think the best player available for the Detroit Lions is Leighton Vander Esch, the one-time Pro Bowler and one-time second-team All-Pro from the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Leighton Vander Esch is only 26 years old and was a first-round pick in the 2018 NFL Draft. He stands at 6'4", 256 pounds, and in his 4-year career, he has totaled over 340 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, 3 interceptions, and 12 passes defended. He's extremely young, again, being just 26 years old, having a ton of football left to play in his career, and he is extremely talented. Again, going to a Pro Bowl in 2018 and being named a second-team All-Pro as just a rookie. Now, the Dallas defense has seen a lot of changes since his rookie season, and Jalen Smith, Micah Parsons, and the rest of that Dallas defense getting a lot of turnovers, and with the Dallas defense having a lot of big names like Jalen Smith, Micah Parsons, Tank Lawrence, and of course Trayvon Diggs, Leighton Vander Esch has been severely overshadowed on that defense without really doing anything wrong. He's been a really good foundational piece for the Cowboys, and the Cowboys just don't have enough money to keep him for a long-term future, and I think that's going to give the Lions a great opportunity to go pick up a really young, relatively cheap linebacker who has a chip on his shoulder, right? First-round guy, didn't get an extension on his contract. He's a guy that's been overshadowed his entire career in Dallas, has that chip on his shoulder, has something to prove, and in my opinion, will have the ability to do that in Detroit. He would be a starting linebacker in Detroit, and in my opinion, would be easily the best linebacker talent-wise that the Lions currently have on their roster. You pair Leighton Vander Esch with a Derek Barnes or maybe even an Alex Anzalone plus another guy in the draft, you're looking at a relatively young and fairly talented linebacking core without spending big money, just like Brad Holmes is trying to build. Now, a couple other guys that are flying a little bit under the radar but could be huge gets for the Detroit Lions, and I would expect Brad Holmes to be doing his homework and really looking into some of these guys, include Jaron Brown of the Titans, Anthony Walker of the Browns, and Khalil White of the LA Chargers. Now, Khalil White is one of, if not the best value pickups, in my opinion, in this free agency class, right? Nobody's signed him yet, but he played really well in his first opportunity in the NFL a season ago. Got his first real starting time and put up phenomenal stats. I believe he had like 140 tackles and just played really well in his first time getting a real starting role in a defense. And Khalil White will not cost very much money to any NFL team. that wants to bring him back. The Chargers don't have the cap space after signing J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack in this free agency, which leaves Khalil White to come to the Detroit Lions. A super productive, extremely young, and really good coverage linebacker, and somebody that could come in, fit the bill of young, has something to prove, is relatively cheap, maybe here for a long time, but doesn't necessarily have to be here for a long time, and all around just really fits the mold of what Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are trying to build in the linebacker room. Now, at the tight end position, I really only have one guy that I wanted to talk about, and that is the Seattle Seahawks free agent Gerald Everett. Now, Gerald Everett is a 6'3", 240-pound tight end at just 27 years old, and in his 4 or 5 year career, he has totaled 175 receptions, 1,867 yards, and 12 touchdowns. Now, he was one of Jared Goff's biggest targets with the Los Angeles Rams, and just like Josh Reynolds, he is a tight end that Jared Goff would have a lot of confidence and a very crucial connection with in the 2022 NFL season. Now, he's not going to take over for TJ Hawkinson, but TJ Hawkinson having his struggles with injuries, right, missing significant time his rookie year and missing a lot of time last year, does have an injury concern. And when he's playing, he's one of the best tight ends in football, but he's not always going to be playing. Bringing in Gerald Everett, a guy that started with the Los Angeles Rams and a guy that has that connection already with Jared Goff, doesn't necessarily need to take a ton of reps with Jared Goff before they rekindle that connection and before they rekindle, that chemistry that they had between themselves as quarterback and tight end for the Los Angeles Rams. I think it could be a really good, relatively cheap signing for a tight end that is a real, true vertical threat in this offense and is only 27 years old. Now, the safety position is one that I think the Lions need to address the absolute most, and that is why I have the most names, and that is why I wanted to spend the most time on the safety position in this video. Now, safety is the Lions' weakest position by far. Tracy Walker is a really good starting caliber safety, and he's being paid like it now after signing a 3-year, $25 million contract with the Detroit Lions. Even having offers to go elsewhere, he decided to return to Detroit and be probably the captain and leader of this defense. But Tracy Walker alone is not enough to save this secondary. Tracy Walker is a great player, but behind that, Dean Marlowe left from a season ago, and the only safety you have left on the roster at this current time is either UDFA guys that were undrafted free agents in their respective draft classes, or Will Harris, the third-round bust, who actually did play a lot better last year, admittedly, but he is, in my opinion, better at the cornerback position, better as a slot cornerback and really being the primary backup and more of a utility tool around the defense to patch a hole where it may be needed, whether it be at a cornerback or if you really need him to step in as a weak side linebacker or a strong safety. But Will Harris and Tracy Walker are not enough for this secondary. They need to add at least one safety in free agency and at least one safety in the draft. I would expect the Lions to address the safety position at least twice this offseason, probably one in free agency, probably one in the draft. Maybe they go 2 in the draft. This safety class is extremely deep and extremely talented, but as of right now, we're talking primarily about free agency, and the Lions have a lot of options at the free agent market, as Jabrill Peppers is, in my opinion, the best player for the Detroit Lions to target right now in free agency. Jabrill Peppers is just 26 years old from the University of Michigan, playing and going into his 6th NFL season. He has 333 career tackles, 21 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries, 25 passes defended, 4 interceptions, and a touchdown to his name. He is an extremely versatile player who can play linebacker, slot cornerback, can play the safety position. Really, he's just Will Harris, but significantly better at everything than Will Harris. And again, this is not a video to hate on Will Harris. He improved a ton last year, but Jabrill Peppers is just, he's going to play that role of being a utility tool. He's going to play that role of just being, whatever the defense needs him to be, whether it be linebacker, safety, slot cornerback, maybe even edge rusher off the edge, right, as a blitzing nickelback, or maybe the Michigan Wolverines at times even put him on the defensive line to just be an edge rusher and get to the quarterback with his athleticism and his speed. He can play any position on the defense that Aaron Glenn could dream of, and that is why I think Jabrill Peppers is the best player for the the Detroit Lions to get. Just having a versatile defender that can play any role in a defense that you could ever wish for and ever think of is not a commodity that is awarded to a lot of defensive coordinators, but the Lions have a chance to go get a player that fits that bill. Exactly. Now, a couple other players that you might want to take a look at. Landon Collins was recently released from the Washington football teams, had 2 interceptions a season ago, only 29 years old at the safety position. Could bring true leadership, could bring a true teacher for Tracy Walker, and it could just be a really key piece at the strong safety position and really solidify that safety's position and really solidify that starting strong safety role. Now, DeShon Elliott, the former 4th-round pick from the University of Texas and Baltimore Ravens free agent, is somebody that I also think we could target. He is somebody that the Baltimore Ravens liked a lot, somebody that they released Earl Thomas so that DeShon Elliott could get significant playing time. He is a guy that just shows up game in and game out and doesn't have the craziest statistics. I believe only has 1 career interception in 3 career years as a starter, 2 career years as a starter, 3 years in the NFL. Only has 1 interception, but as we know with Tracy Walker, interceptions and turnovers are not the biggest factor when it comes to evaluating the safety position. And DeShon Elliott is very good. He gets his hands on a lot of footballs. He is just somebody that doesn't get tested a lot in the Ravens secondary. And I know the Ravens secondary was really poor a season ago, but DeShon Elliott was probably the lone bright spot of that secondary, and he is probably going to be one of the cheapest safety free agents on the market. And with that being the case, he will likely be one of the best value safeties on the open market. You pair him with Tracy Walker, it's going to be really hard for opposing quarterbacks to throw balls down the field. It's going to be really hard for teams to hit that deep ball, especially with Amani Oruwariye coming off a 7 interception season, especially with Jeff Okudah returning on the boundary with a lot to prove in a second year under Aaron Glenn and Aubrey Pleasant, and of course with the opportunity to maybe even go draft Kyle Hamilton still if they get DeShon Elliott. That safety trio would be phenomenal and would just continue to build that really young secondary that Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn started. So with that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. That is my free agency wish list from linebacker to safety to tight end. Any of the guys mentioned in this video, in my opinion, would be really good pickups for the Detroit Lions. Leighton Vander Esch, Jayon Brown, Anthony Walker, Khalil White, Gerald Everett, Jabrill Peppers, DeShon Elliott, and Landon Collins all are guys that could fit the Lions system, fit what they want to do, be relatively young, with the exception of Landon Collins, but could be relatively young, relatively cheap, and have a chip on their shoulder. Every single one of these players has something to prove. Every single one of these players will have a chip on their shoulder, and none of these players should command top tier money. So with all that being said, that is all for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below, what is your biggest free agency wish list? If you could have one guy from the open market right now, what guy would that be? I'd be very curious to what you guys think, but with all of that being said, that is all for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions!